You're watching TelecomTV from the MEF annual members meeting in Boston. And I'm joined now by Pascal Menezes, who is the CTO of the MEF. Pascal, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us on TelecomTV. Since we last spoke in November, you've been appointed as CTO of the MEF. So first of all, congratulations on the new job.
Thank you.
Given that you're the new CTO, what is the MEF's new vision? What's the new vision of the MEF?
Great question. So coming to the MEF, the first thing we want to do is get away from just being spec and to add code in. And to move away from the model that we're just carry Ethernet. Because really what we've done and what we've realized is some very five fundamental pivot points. The MEF as a forum has created this $80 billion market. We have many, many operators, over 130, it's just members itself, worldwide, who've implemented carry Ethernet. Now, these are islands of carry Ethernet that are trying to connect together. So interconnecting those islands together of carry Ethernet, these providers, would, number one, create this new fabric worldwide, much like the internet, the pervasiveness of the internet. So that's number one. So interconnecting all of them is number one. Number two is we're moving up the stack. Because if you think about it, carry Ethernet's great, but people think about it from IP layer 3 and then finally other services on top. So now we're adding new services. So we started our IP work. How do you connect these? Now we've connected them physically, all these providers. Now how we put IP above it, because at the end of the day, internet's all about the internet protocol. And so we're putting IP up between the providers and how to talk to them in a way that they could be orchestrated. And then we're going to add in point services like firewalls or security, and that's the next realm of what we're going to be tackling. So the MEF has gone way past just being carry Ethernet into this kind of services model of new services. Additionally, in order to do all of this and to talk to all these operators, we have to think about lifecycle service orchestration, right? Which is the kind of brains of how you talk to providers to provision all these kind of services, right? Besides carry Ethernet. Thirdly, if you think about it, people want to access this new kind of business third network from being mobile while they're at work, but also a lot of people are telecommuting, they're working from home, and they want that same quality. So it's residential, home, or at wherever you're commuting, and then finally being from the business itself. So that, and then additionally, you think about the next thing is you say, oh, well, connecting site to site's cool, but most of my IT is starting to land in the cloud. So now clouds have to be part of that. So you could see it's a big vision now that we've taken on. It's actually a really large vision between anywhere access, connected to clouds, connecting all these providers together, our $80 billion market together, and then adding in new services, moving up the stack.
So elsewhere, there's a lot of work being going on with the cellular community, with 3GPP, about looking at their core networks when they move to 5G. We've been told it's a whole new architecture of networks, SDN, NFV-based networks. If they want to really reach out to the vertical markets in the way they say they are, how does this fit in with the MEF's work? Because you're the experts at looking at the enterprise and business markets.
Yeah, but if you think about it, 5G's, they're going to build a 5G network, but it's like the residential network. It's a network certainly for mobile, but if you think about it, a business user doesn't want to go to just the 5G and he's done. He's got to go to other parts of the network. He might hit a data center that has another service. He might go to the cloud. So the LSO is coordinating all these technology domains. 5G just becomes another technology domain, right, in our OpenCS project. So basically our OpenCS project has all these technology domains. And so this is the key part. It's just another technology domain that we'll be able to orchestrate. It's very complementary. We're not trying to describe the 5G build out, just that we can orchestrate or set APIs.
You're now the CTO of the MEF. What does a CTO's role entail? What's your responsibilities at the CTO office?
Well, great question. I actually came on because they felt that they wanted to bring in more of an open initiative into the MEF, because MEF's being really great at doing the standardization specifications, but they wanted to bring more of where the industry is going about code. Working with open source projects, taking the spec and realizing to code faster. So my role is to actually bring that code in from open source projects, make it happen, show the dream of the third network, and work with the specification teams hand in hand. So.
Well, I have to pick up on that one if I can, because we are seeing throughout the industry this phenomenon of a move towards open source and open networking. What exactly is happening, and why is this important for the industry?
It's actually a great question to toss up because it's really simple, disaggregation. A lot of service providers, enterprises have been buying these monolithic models. So you'd go in, you'd buy this monolithic element of a router or switch or whatever, and they basically have everything kind of integrated tightly, so you can't remove anything part of that. And so what happens is when you try to do any innovation, you're kind of bounded by that vendor's innovation cycle. And now, as you know, innovation's so rapid and you have to be so scrappy to get there. So basically what's going on is disaggregation's coming in. So you're taking that same router, switch, whatever network element, and you're disaggregating it pieces, and that's how the cloud guys have done it. And this disaggregation is happening in software too. So what's going on is this disaggregation means you need to have open APIs. Because if you're going to take a piece of here and a blade from here and this from here and put them into racks, which scale like very large to cloud scales, then you have to have open APIs. Otherwise, there's no way of making the parts kind of communicate.
So what's the MEF doing with OpenCS and OpenLSO?
So this is something I brought on. The idea of, when we talk about the open initiative, this is our open initiative, OpenLSO, OpenCS. They're really a reference platform of all the spec side to show them in actual code. So we work with open source upstream projects to show that and realize that. So OpenLSO is lifecycle service orchestration, open lifecycle service orchestration. And it's initially about making sure that when we bring this open source code in, it's open so people can innovate on it, okay? But also for vendors who have LSOs that says, I don't do anything on open source, mine's closed source, that's fine too, because we just want to make sure the APIs are open. Right. So if they have basically a full system that's completely closed, then the most important thing is the APIs are open so they can communicate to other things and other parts of the system. But in the case of open source, then you can actually see into the black box and you can change out components and you can do innovations just on that too. So both are acceptable models. That's OpenLSO. And OpenCS is really how, if I got orchestration, what am I orchestrating? I have to orchestrate all these technology domains. So you think about SDN, NFV, but also you think about optical networks, packet networks, cloud connecting to clouds. All there are technology domains. So we have like 7 technology domains we're now orchestrating. And that's what OpenCS is. So again, open source, we could have open source in these technology domains, or we have closed source. As long as the APIs are open is all that matters, even in that area.
So are we seeing use cases yet for these areas?
Oh, yeah. We have 7 use cases now in the OpenCS itself. So that's what I said about packet optical domains, packet, NFV, data center, cloud exchange, and 5G. And so all of these are use cases specifically how they can be orchestrated from LSO.
So this is helping service providers through the fact that we've got these open APIs so we can mix and orchestrate different services.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, how does a tenant from a site say, give me a connection from A to Z, and then basically that connection automatically happens. This is LSO's function. But they have to talk between, there's no service provider owns every, has a footprint in every market all over the world, so they have to talk to other providers, right, in a federation model. So basically the idea when you provision that, they have to talk to each other, this LSO to LSO, okay, and that's really important of how you make that automation happen and that provisioning happen. So
where does Presto fit in this picture?
So actually, to come back to the other question, so that east-west is the actual set of APIs we talk about east-west between providers. Presto is the north-south side. So if you are a service provider that's bought a whole bunch of equipment from vendors, You want to make sure that they support the API so you can orchestrate them, whether it be closed source or open source. Because if they don't support the APIs to orchestrate them, then you can't touch that technology domain. So Presto is all about that north-south direction, each technology domain within the provider, where we have interlude and other APIs to go between providers, east-west.
Can I move on to a white paper that the MEF has published? It's the third network industry white paper. What was the point of that, and what were you trying to achieve with it?
To actually articulate the problem. A lot of people think, well, we got the internet. Why isn't that good enough, right? We got MPLS carry Ethernet. Why isn't that good enough? So we articulated the problem really well. We described about why we want to get to a cloud-like agility model, which we've talked about in the past. And then finally, getting a lot of big industry backers like ONF, Open Network Foundation, Open Daylight, OPNFV, ON Labs, all these high-profile open source projects that back us and kind of stamp the paper and talk about, that's the problem, this is the framework, how we need to approach the problem. So it's not like super technical details, but just describing the problem and the framework to become this new world of this, I call this business-like internet. We call it the third network. It's really a business internet because, we have the consumer network, which is the consumer internet. But if a business wants to rely on anything, they really don't want to rely on the consumer internet. They want a business internet with, talk about quality and security and things.
So the MEF and yourself, you've introduced these new open initiatives, which we just talked about. But what more needs to be done to support the industry so that it can achieve the MEF's vision of third network services?
It can adapt to my applications. I can see how my application is performing on that network. All these things are not really possible today, which you think, is 2016, this should be a norm, but it's not. I mean just if we have 3 more minutes, the internet's built 40 years ago. Nothing's changed. It's a bunch of networks connected together with 40-year-old technology. I think we talked about this. That's how the internet. So if something's congested, packets still follow that route, and you get a bad experience, and no one really cares or can do anything about it. I mean, they do a little bit with these offline traffic engineering tools, but in the day, there's not this modernization network that's really in tune in real time what's going on and can really adapt itself.
Great. Pascal, as always, fascinating. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thanks, guy. Thanks for having me.